And so that's step one is swag. Smell good, look good, be on time, be professional. Know your stuff, right? Know your stuff. Because if you don't, you're not going to be able to close. Second is going to be creating a buying atmosphere. Selling Cutco like you sell a party to your friends. I always like to think that in the relationship between me and my customer, I'm like the big mama. All right, you have the little kid who wants to have a cookie before dinner, and you're the big mama, you're the parent, you know he can't have that cookie because it's going to spoil his dinner. So you don't let him. And it's in his best interest, but he doesn't know it because he's just a kid. And that's kind of how I see my customers. Like, Ms. Jones, I know you don't think you want to set. I know you think your eyes are fine, but you're still cute. I haven't even started the show. I know what you need. We're going to help you out. You need a homemaker set. You got to get that signature set. And when you're strong and you truly believe that, if you don't truly believe it, it doesn't matter what you say. The customers can tell that it's not a true belief that you have. You know, the fact that it's going to be in their kitchen for the next 40, 50, 60 years, doesn't matter whether they own a homemaker or complete set based on the amount of cooking that they do. Whatever they own, they're going to use it all, every day, for the next 40, 50, 60 years. My first complete set I ever sold was to Celedonio, and it was a crazy appointment, 2 days left of a push. I was $4,500 away from hitting my goal. My goal was to sell $12,000, and I was at, I don't know, whatever $4,000 short of that is, around $8,000. I go to my 10 o'clock appointment, I booked at 10 o'clock, go through the whole appointment, close on a homemaker, drop down, no sale, not happening. She's having surgery in 2 days for breast cancer. She's going to be out of work, but she just can't do it. I'm like, all right, no problem. I go through recommendations, and I know I only have 1 day left. I got a full day of appointments. I'm like, Ms. Jones, I know this is going to sound crazy. Is there anybody you think we can call right now? She just looks at her clock. She's like, sweetheart, it's 12:30 at night. I don't think anybody's going to answer the phone. I'm like, well, everybody knows someone that's up late, maybe someone that's younger, somebody that is in a different time zone. I could do virtual appointments. She's like, oh, actually, I do know someone. 12:30 at night. Did not expect her to say yes. She calls up Celedonio, gets me on the phone with him. I start doing a virtual appointment with him. We get down to the sets, and he's like, yeah, I think the basic set would be good for me. So I start talking to him about the complete set. And one thing you should know about Celedonio is 23 years old, not a Mac customer, not married, lives in an apartment, 23 years old, lives in Venezuela. But I happen to know he's got some money. And so I tell him, hey, let me tell you, to be honest, the basic set, it's probably going to cover all of your cooking needs for the next 10 years. But dude, you're my age, 23. You're not going to be cooking for 10 years. You're going to be cooking for the next 30, 40, 50 years. You ever plan on getting married, Celedonio? He's like, yeah, for sure. You can have some kids. You seem like the kind of guy who likes to party. You can have people over at the house. It's like all the time. Well, the complete set's the only one that brings enough steak knives. It brings a full setting of 12. So if you get the basic set, you're eventually going to need to add the steak knives anyway. And I know that you might not be doing it right now, but when you do those parties, you're ever going to do like a cajachina, a lechon, right, a pork, something bigger, a coconut, those tougher cuts. Well, the complete set's the only one that brings the cleaver. You might not use it every day, but in 20, 30 years when you need it, it's just going to cost more money. You're not going to have anywhere to put it. You're going to have to store it in the drawer. I went through a couple of the pieces that way. You know, the salmon knife for fish and fillets, the boning knife for raw meats, butterfly and chicken breasts, the 4-inch paring knife. And I'm like, so look, if you can swing it, I mean, the price difference is only blank amount per month. You might as well just get the big one and be done with it. That way you'll have the best in your kitchen. It's going to cover everything for the next 40, 50, 60 years. Your wife's going to love it. Your kids will have it. You're just done. You'll never have to worry about it again. He ends up getting the complete set, and I sell him the flatware, and I sell him some accessories. Ends up being a $3,500 order. When I get off the phone with him, I had done such a good job. My customer's like, you know, it made a lot of sense. I think I'll start with the basic set. And she buys a homemaker from me. $4,500 right there on that appointment. And so that's what happens when you believe. I didn't sell him that homemaker. Somebody else would have seen a 23-year-old and been like, gosh, I hope I can sell him an essential set, right? But that's not where you stop, because I know, and by the way, he loves it. That was $3,500 in 2011. Today he's bought over $25,000 worth of Cutco from me. He bought $10,000 worth of Cutco from me in December. He owns everything Cutco makes, all the outdoor knives for 2 homes. His mom also has pretty much everything that we make. So you never, ever know. You never know. Some light bulbs going on? Can we get a group? Oh.
Moist. Very moist.
Yes, it is. And so this belief that I'm trying to instill in you guys, like, this is kind of the difference. And when you see customers that have had the stuff for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, when you see customers that inherit it from their parents or their grandparents, like, it's impossible to not have that belief. That belief isn't something that I learned, it's something that my customers kind of gave me over time. Because I've just seen it over and over again. It's been hammered into me, so I'm trying to hammer it into you guys. You have a unique product. People always ask me what I love most about selling Cutco, and it's the fact that I get all the perks and all the benefits of owning a business without any of the hassle. With the name of Cutco, which has been known, everybody's had it, been around since the 40s. I have that brand to back me up, but I get all the perks of owning a company. And you have an incredible brand. So you got to stand behind your Cutco and know that it's the best. So creating a buying atmosphere starts off with the phones. And Karina gave a great phone tip that's also going to be in my handout, which is going to go out in just a second. But you got to create that buying atmosphere early on. You got to let them know there's no obligation to get anything, but it's basically my job to try to sell you to. Okay? And I might not say that exactly like that on the phone. The verbiage is what Karina had in her message. But if I'm on the phone and I'm like, Ms. Jones, there's no obligation to get anything, but if you see something you like, you definitely can. And then they say, oh, okay, honey, but I'm not going to buy anything. All right, but if you see something you can. Okay, but I'm not going to do anything. All right, that's fine, but if you see something you like, you can get it. And they're like, no, but I'm not going to buy it. I'm like, no, but you can. And it'll go back and forth like that a couple times, and they get it, they start to laugh. And at that moment, do you think they know what's about to happen when I come over? Yeah. They know it's not going to be a little scholarship appointment, right? They know that I'm not trying to get credit. And the biggest reason I bring this up is because think about it from the customer's perspective. What is it in it for the customer if all you're doing is going to show them Cutco? It's going to waste an hour of their time. But if you're going to show them a product that they might really like, that's going to improve their quality of their life in their kitchen, you're going to get something out of it, right? So what's in it for the customer? There's nothing in it for the customer if you're just going to practice, right? That's all about you. But if there's an opportunity for them to get the best product that they've ever seen, now there's something in it for them. And there's no obligation. They don't have to get anything. But if you see something you like, Ms. Jones, you're probably going to want to. You might want to hide the checkbook. A lot of my customers do, but not too far because you're going to need to go get it at the end. And I'll tell them that on the phone and they laugh. And it's fun, right? It creates this game. People buy stuff all the time. Our company was built on salespeople. Christopher Columbus was one of the best salespeople ever. You might laugh, but he had a pretty tough sales job. He had to convince a bunch of people to get on a boat and go over the end of the earth. Because that's what everybody thought was going to happen. And somehow he went out and sold that. And he got a lot of people on there, and because of that, we have the U.S. So don't be ashamed of what you do. The funny thing and the truth is, it's pretty true, isn't it? The truth is we all are naturally born salespeople. There's not a lot of people, there's not a lot of skills like that. All right, there's not a lot of skills that we're naturally kind of born that way. No one's born a doctor, no one's born a lawyer, okay? But when you're little and you want to get something out of your parents, oh, you better know you know how to sell, right? You get all your homework done beforehand, you handle the objections before they come up. Like all these things you've been learning in Cutco, you've actually been doing since you were like 2 or 3 years old. You just didn't know it. And you got to be proud of it. And know that it's okay. It's your job. It's how the economy works. Because I'll tell you, in 20, 30, 40 years, a customer that buys a homemaker, an ultimate set from you, they're going to forget about your scholarship, your goals, how hard you were working in the trophy. All they're going to know in 40 years is some really cool kid came by and helped them make the best decision they've ever made for their kitchen. And I hear that story over and over and over again. Has anybody ever had a customer tell you that? No. Someone see a Cutco owner and say, oh, I just bought that one to help him out, but oh my gosh, it's like the best knife I've ever had. I hear that story way too often. I hear it all the time. And so know that whatever your customer gets from you, the person that won, because the crazy thing is your commission is gone that week. Your commission is gone maybe that next night you go out. But how long is that knife in the customer's home? Forever. Right? Now if that set is going to be in their home forever, it's your job to serve the customer. Anytime you sell a customer a paring knife, you are doing them a huge disservice. Does anybody know why? You sell just one paring knife. Why is that bad for the customer?
Because they're not getting the full experience.
They're not getting the full experience at Cutco.
They're going to use it on the cutting board.
They're going to use it on a cutting board. Not just on the cutting board. The bottom line is, if you sell somebody a paring knife, they are going to use, what's the best knife in their kitchen going to be when they get that paring knife?
The paring knife.
So what are they going to use it for?
Everything.
And what's going to happen to it?
That thing's going to
It's going to dull. And then what are they going to think? This kid sold me a $60 knife, and it didn't even stay sharp. Is that the impression you want them to have of Cutco? No, not at all. You got to get them at least a couple of pieces. But ideally, a set. Right? It changes their experience in the kitchen when they have a set. And that's my goal. The sets are designed to stay sharp. The sets have the right tool for the right job. Right? They have a cutting board. They have a sharpener. When you don't get a set, you just end up with this hodgepodge of amount of pieces that get clanging around against each other in the drawer, so they're doling out. They're using them on a glass cutting board, and within 6 months, they feel like they just wasted $300. Whereas they could have just spent $600, had a set, and been happier than you could possibly imagine. I can't tell you how many times I go into a customer's home with 2 or 3 pieces, and I'm like, Miss Jones, I'm so sorry, who did that to you? It's so bad. Don't worry, we're gonna help you out. We're gonna put it all together in a block for you, keep it all together, and it literally changes their experience. I go back and I'll see those customers in a year. A customer that was maybe not so happy with Cutco, but once I got them a few more pieces, I got them somewhere to store it, something to sharpen it with, and something to cut on, it's a completely different experience. And that's why my customers buy from me over and over and over again. Because when you do this and you serve your customers, instead of just serving your pocket, instead of just trying to get the sale and moving on to the next person, if you know what is best for that client and you help them do it, even if they're not 100% comfortable with it, you have to know, even if you push them a little bit to get the set, because they weren't super sure if they wanted to do it, they're not going to regret it. And you have to truly believe that. And I do, because the number of returns I've had is minuscule. Last year, out of my $150,000 that I sold, about $70,000 of that was customers that had already bought from me in the past. Almost half of my sales for the year were people that I had already met with and originally sold Cutco to. Because once people start buying Cutco, they can't stop. It's like the worst thing about Cutco. It's an addiction. We'll take questions at the end, so write it down. Keep it in mind. All right, so on the phone, don't be afraid to let them know, Ms. Jones. I'm going to show you everything we have. Susie loves the stuff. If you see something you like, you can definitely get it. If not, that's okay too. Stories. So Andy Janti talked a little bit about storytelling. People connect with stories. Notice I've already told 2 or 3 stories today. And you'll remember those things because stories bring up emotions. And so I have stories for everything. I have stories for individual pieces. I have stories for sets. I have stories about customers. I'm always selling through stories. And these stories, you're only going to get them by cutting, by using the stuff at home. You can have your own stories. You can take stories from your managers. One of my favorite stories that I talk about is when I'm selling the bread knife. I'm like, Ms. Jones, I remember the first time I used the bread knife, I was like a brand new rep, and I had been told how amazing it was and how I can cut through like fresh bread like butter. And one of my customers is like, there's nothing that can cut through fresh bread without smashing it. I'm like, oh yeah, well this thing can. And he's like, well, let's try it. And I'm like, oh gosh, I hope it does. I had never tried it, right? So he starts rummaging through and he finds one of the little potato breads that had been in the freezer, and he sticks it in the microwave. Potato bread by itself is really soft, but then you take it moist out of the freezer and you put it into the microwave, I'm like, gosh, I'm done. That's it. There's no way. And that thing cut so clean, didn't even smash it. And I mean, my eyes, I had a huge relief. I quickly covered it. See, told you. Right? And my customers laugh. And now what do they think about the bread knife? I didn't have to cut the bread with that customer, but that same emotion's been transferred to them. And they're going to love that bread knife. It's God's gift to Cuba, as I would like to call it, for the Cuban bread. So share stories on your appointments. Testimonials. Testimonials everywhere. Now, those last 3 slides were things you already heard today. And if you already heard them today and you're hearing them for a second or a third time, what does that mean?
It's important.
It's important. You got to do it. You got to have testimonials. Now, the cool thing about testimonials when you run into a Cutco owner is it will really help you build value. So here's a couple questions I ask my customers while they're writing the testimonial. Hey, Ms. Jones, by the way, while you're writing that out, have you, can you talk about how much you love Cutco and would you recommend it to friends and family? Oh, great, put that in there. And now you have that to show to somebody else, but also you're planning to seek for recommendations. Ms. Jones, what was your favorite part of owning Cutco? What's your favorite piece and why? Would you recommend it to friends and family? Have you recommended it before? These are some of the questions I ask when I'm coaching my customers on how to write a testimonial form. Create a want. If you notice, a lot of what Andy said, a lot of what I've covered, it's not necessarily selling. See, the demo is going to determine whether or not your customer is going to buy. And your close is only going to determine how much. Your job is for them to want to buy Cutco. By the time I get to the close, it's not a question of are they going to buy. It's a question of how much can we fit in the budget right now. All right, Ms. Jones, so the idea when you get to the close is like, oh my gosh, I got to get all this stuff. Where do I even start? I can't get it all today. I'm going to have to start with just the knives. I'll start with just that set of knives. It's a complete set, right? That's kind of the emotion that you want them to have. By the time the close comes, it's like, I can't believe this product is so amazing. I want it all in my kitchen now, right? They want to buy. You're not selling it to them. And they're excited for it. So your demo will determine how much they buy, or your demo will determine whether or not they buy, and how good you are at closing will just determine how high you finish, how much you sell.